Miami's defense, specifically the defensive line, have been really, really good to start the season, and most of that has been without Ruben Hurricane Bain.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Truth Teller Tuesday. I'm Alex Dono, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC and writer for Canes County on Rivals. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. I was on Larry Bluestein's radio show last night. Shout out to our boy Blue for having me on. And, he asked me to talk about Miami's improved depth this year. And a couple things that stand out to me, how good Miami's offensive line has been the past few weeks without their starting left tackle, Jalen Rivers. Markel, Bell, and others have filled in and done admirable work. And Miami's defensive line, which has been one of the most productive in the country, despite not having their most feared guy, Ruben Hurricane Bain, since the first defensive series against Florida. Like that's depth, and we hope to have Bain back soon. We've got the truth teller back on with us, Bruce Warner. So, Bruce, would you like to hear some of Miami's defensive stats so far this year?
Do I have to?
Yeah, it's not really your choice. I was just hoping you would say yes.
And neither was it my choice to do an 8:30 in the morning show, but here we are because the boss said so. By the way, we had Caesar on. We couldn't hear him.
I know.
The show was going to include Mark. We were going to talk about the D-line. I mean, if anybody knows it's him, but we couldn't hear him, so we're going to have him back next week, assuming we could fix his phone. Yeah, let's hear the stats. I'm sure they're really good.
And since Caesar, our resident defensive lineman, couldn't join us today, I'm just going to ask you, Bruce, to just, to try to put on like 100 pounds between now and the end of this conversation so you can speak from the D-line experience. So far this year, Miami Hurricanes are 8th in the country in tackles for loss. They average 8.5 TFL per game. Miami leads America in total sacks so far with 16 on the year. They're averaging 4 per game, which is second in the country because there's a couple teams that have only played 3 games. So Miami's average is second in the country, which is not bad.
Right.
The Hurricanes are, despite the fact that they just went up against the formerly 8th rated rushing attack in the country, Miami is 6th in America in rushing defense, giving up just 64.8 yards per game. And then, Bruce, we talk about, the individual that's putting up the biggest stats on Miami's defensive line so far. That's been Tyler Barron, who's been a revelation transferring in from Tennessee. Barron is 10th in the nation in sacks with 4.5 so far on the season, and he's 9th in America in tackles for loss with 7.5 so far this year. So without Bain, Barron, and others, because I want to show out love for Simeon Barrow. Akeem Mesidor was really good in the last game. Elijah Alston, Malik Bryant has had some really good moments. Like, Barron is not the only one stepping up, but he's been the headline maker so far.
Yeah. I don't want to tap myself on the back, but, remember a year ago when we had no defensive lineman, I kept on saying D tackles. And our comments were, shut up about the D tackles already. Guess what? That's the difference because it frees up our linebackers to do damage. These guys are getting in the backfield on every play. They might not get to the quarterback, but they are creating such havoc for the other team's offense that's what you look for. And that's why there's been a lot more interceptions, a lot of bad throws. But the defense is, and Bain, he's going to play Friday. I know he is. And I know Rivers is playing too. I don't know how much. Bain's going to get rotated because they can't let him have a lingering injury the whole season. So he'll be in and out, but he'll be 100%. Probably for Cal and definitely for Louisville because they're going to need him against Louisville.
Yeah. How you feeling heading into this Virginia Tech game? Because to me, it's like I don't want to get too caught up in the fact that Vatek has been disappointing so far, right? You look at Miami and I get it. Like, the haters will say, you guys haven't played anybody yet. Like Miami has so far exceeded expectations outside of maybe committing too many penalties.
Mhm.
For Virginia Tech, they looked terrible against Vanderbilt on the road. You
They
know,
just lost to Rutgers.
they just lost to well, I mean, so
So
did
did
we
we.
last year.
So
So
did we, but not with the team we have now. We would not have lost to
right,
Rutgers.
that's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah. But last year we were 4-0 at this time, just like this year.
Yeah.
And guess what?
Yeah.
Another Tech, Georgia Tech, came to our stadium and we laid an egg. So am I worried? Not really. You know, it's a different year, different team. I only worry about the mental status of the team, but when you watch them the other night, how they were all together. Somebody makes a play, they're all jumping up and down. The culture, as people refer to it with us, I don't know how much higher it could get. These guys are all locked in. I expect us to destroy Virginia Tech. I just do. And Cal has a week off to get ready for us. We're going to destroy them. They showed me nothing against Florida State, you know. But I don't, I know you want to know if we're going to run the table this year. That's on Alex's little list here for the show. I'm not going to say anything because you said this is our opinion.
You're too
Mario
superstitious.
doesn't want us talking about that. I mean, he doesn't want his team to hear that. So I'll stay away from that. You can answer that.
Yeah, well, I was hoping you would answer it. So
I'll answer it. I answered it 3 weeks ago. What did I say? I said under 12-0.
That's right. So you did already answer it.
You did already answer that.
Yeah, you did already answer it. Yeah. So also on this episode of Locked On Canes, we will talk about improving the discipline, cutting down on the penalties. I did want to talk about whether or not this team can run the table, but I think Bruce Warner and I are both a little too superstitious to answer it. I mean, for what it's worth, there's a good chance Miami will probably be favorites in all the remaining regular season games they play. Maybe not Louisville. We'll see how both the teams are doing in a couple weeks when they meet up, because Louisville's also been really good at home. But then, like, Bruce, if I look at a couple stats offensively where Miami's really improving this year compared to last year, and I give Cam Ward a ton of credit for this, right? Miami on third down, converting third down, number one in the country right now.
Wow.
Miami's really improved their red zone percentage. They score just under 92% of their red zone trips, and I think that can hopefully get even better. And that's something that Shannon Dawson talked about this week, really mentioning, and I know people are nitpicking Miami's running game, but the Hurricanes have had some important red zone runs, and Miami's probably run better in the red zone than they have in other spots on the field, which sets up second, third, and goals in manageable situations, and Ward is able to finish the job. I mean, heck, you look at Bruce in that game against South Florida, how many 1-2 yard touchdown runs did Miami have? Because they're setting themselves up in very manageable positions in the red zone.
Even when the quarterback is telling the other team where they're going with the ball.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much.
You know, the answer might be for the offense and the running game. When he gets to the line of scrimmage, he knows if that defense is stacked to stop the run, he just does some hand signals, and they've been throwing the ball. He's going to take what they give him. If they're going to let him throw like that, why not? Why do what they used to do? Stack the box and still run for a yard. He's not stupid like they've had last year. Maybe they just tied Van Dyke's hands and he couldn't change the play. But this guy is so smart, and he reads the defense. So you know what? How many times have we run the ball 2, 3, 4 times in a row this season? Probably none. Why should they? Yeah. So maybe the offensive line is not really firing out because they're blocking for a run every 3 or 4 plays. There's a lot of things to it. I'm not worried about our running game. Did you see Lyle the other day? Wow! Oh, what a gear!
What a player!
He jumped to the outside. He got past everybody, and the safety had somewhat of an angle on him, and he still beat him to the end zone. So I'm not worried about the running game at all. I'm only worried about the mentality of the team every week. And I only worry that we cannot lose Cam Ward. He is so important. As great as the rest of these players are playing, we can't lose him. He's the trigger man.
Yeah, well, still on this episode of Locked On Canes, I want to talk about Miami sharpening their discipline. And also, when I bring up penalties, a lot of people have thrown out, well, the referees were so terrible in the USF game. Maybe we're making more of the penalty stuff than we really should. And then something else, I want to revisit this, Bruce, when we come back, because I answered a question from a listener yesterday about, Miami players who deserve a little bit more credit, like guys who are kind of unsung heroes. And I left somebody out that I really think we should bring up. So you want to keep it locked right here, my friends. We got the Truth Teller with us on a Truth Teller Tuesday, and we're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked on Canes. You want to keep it locked. And my friends, we are only getting started with FanDuel. We've been winning money this football season. We've been having an awesome time betting on all the college football games. Miami Hurricanes, by the way, 17.5-point favorites against Virginia Tech. That's a big number. 17.5-point favorites this week. And hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more right there on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. Thank you for making this Truth Teller Tuesday episode of Locked on Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure for your next listen, you guys check out Locked on ACC. Kenton Gibbs and I host that show. We actually had on a lawyer, Doug Rohan, on this morning's episode to talk about the possible settlement between the ACC, Florida State, and Clemson that could keep the band together until 2030. And Rohan, who is a lawyer, gave us some amazing legal insights. You guys want to check that out on Locked on ACC. So, Bruce, yesterday I was talking about some players that I think deserve a little more credit on Miami. And, I brought up Akeem Mesidor, who we don't talk as much about on the defensive line. He had the highest Pro Football Focus grade of any Miami Hurricane this past week. We continue to talk about A.J. Allen, who's really stepped up the last couple of weeks at running back. Obviously, Jordan Lyle gets a ton of love. People talk about good and bad. They talk about Damian Martinez and Mark Fletcher, but I think A.J. Allen deserves more credit. But here's a name. I didn't bring this up, but a couple of commenters did. Bruce, how good Zach Carpenter has been so far this year at center. Like, we were all worried about replacing Matt Lee. Miami has not missed a beat at that position.
No, he's really good, and he's anchoring the offensive line. I haven't heard his name mentioned at all. Did he do any holds at all from him? Maybe once. I don't remember.
No, I don't think so. And usually when you're a center and your name isn't getting mentioned, that's usually a very good thing.
Yes, it's very good. So, and he's a hard-headed kid. He's tough. I see him down the field blocking. Maybe he got called for illegal man downfield.
That's what it was. You know what it was? You're right about that. He was called, which may have been a BS call, honestly, because he was like downfield blocking, and they called him an ineligible receiver down the field. I didn't go back and watch that a second time, but I thought that was a little suspect, that call.
I mean, because he probably thought that Ward was going to run, and he didn't. He was down there. He got caught. It happens. He doesn't know what Ward's going to do. I mean, I think one of the guys that I mentioned in the offseason, and somebody poo-pooed it, I'm not going to say who, and said, nah, he's just fodder. He's worthless. Ahmad Moten. He's playing really good. He looks good. He looks on the sidelines. I see him jumping up and down, and he gets in the game. He's involved with the play. He's causing problems in the backfield. I always mention him because he had the prototypical defensive line size. So I'm happy for him. He's turned it around. That's another one of those guys. I guess you can call him an unsung hero.
Yeah.
When you say penalties, we had a few pass interferences. Some of them are true. Some of them are BS calls. I didn't see any targeting this year. Did you? Not one, I don't think.
No.
Right?
No, we have. There should have been a targeting on USF that they didn't call.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes. On a play on the sideline. I'm not sure who it was, but yeah. And then you got, you have, what's I going to say? We have a bunch of guys that are just hustling on special teams. They're getting the ball at like the 15, 20-yard line when they're actually running the ball back. Our punt return hasn't done a thing. That's a little frightening.
Yeah,
But these punters
it
are
is.
good now. Guys are
I
keeping
was
it
going to
in.
say that there's not that many return opportunities anymore.
Yes,
Now,
it's not.
we almost got a big special teams play because we had the blocked extra point that we had a chance to return it for what would have been 2
2
points if we
points,
could have
right.
taken it the other way. It was
Yeah, yeah.
close.
Yeah, but, to me, the penalties are very touchy. It could be not called at all. It depends who's calling it, but it just seems like the refs the other day, they called every other play was a penalty. Every
Yeah,
other play. It just seemed like there was no flow to the game. There was no rhythm
yeah.
to the game. Penalty, penalty, and then they're taking their time, what happened and who did what. I don't know. I just thought that was a really poorly refereed game on both
Yeah, I
sides for
thought so
both
too.
teams. You know,
I thought so
uh,
too. Yeah.
so we play in 3 days. That's kind of strange. It seems like we just got off the field, but that was 3 days ago already.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about this. And again, I only take one at a time. I think Miami covers the spread. I think they jump on these guys. I know Mario has gotten into their heads already. Okay, forget about the first 4 games. This is the ACC. This is important to us. This is Virginia Tech. They have a history of beating us and playing us tough. They're going into this game like they're 0-0. I know that.
Yeah.
They are. They're looking at this game. This is like a home opener, even though they've been home. This is a conference matchup that they have to win. They can't lay any eggs. The next 8 games are ACC games. That's where it counts. So I know they're locked in. I just don't see Virginia Tech with the firepower to stay with us. You see what happens. In every game, we have a run of 3 or 4 touchdowns in a row, and bang, the game's over.
Right. Yeah, and this is going to be another game where Miami's going to have a challenging assignment when it comes to stopping the run. They passed that test against USF this past week, but Bishal Tootin, the star running back from Virginia Tech, is one of their top weapons. He's already got 391 yards and 7 touchdowns so far this season. So this is someone Miami is going to.
What's the quarterback's passing stats?
Not very good at all for Kyron Drones.
Okay, so they're going to stack the box and they're going to take that running back out of the game. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And Miami always attacks the other team's weakness, which is smart.
Yeah. Yeah, and Kyron Drones, he's probably been running better than he's been throwing lately. He's a dual threat, although the threat of the passing has not been as much of a threat this year. But that's a talented player. So it's like the same way we kind of counted out Byron Brown, the USF quarterback, as a passer, and he was doing some things in the first half, Bruce. He kept finding Sean Atkins over and over and over again. So you have to wonder, like, if this is the game when Drones is going to break out as a passer. And he, by the way, there's going to be a fun competition there because he and Cam Ward, I think they're distant cousins. Like they're related somehow. They're really close friends. They work out together down here with Shedeur Sanders. So I'm sure that the two of them are going to be trying to one up each other on every drive. But I would put my money on Cam Ward when it comes to that quarterback matchup.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Or the listeners, because when they get to hear this, they could comment. Do you think Mario cares about Cam Ward pointing to where the play is going to go and they actually run it to that spot? Do you think he cares?
I don't think he does. You know why?
Really?
Because big people, strong people beat up people who are not as big and strong. And it's like, I think Mario probably loves, because on those plays where you're going to run the football, it's about the offensive line on those goal line situations, getting that push. So it's like, I'm sure in Mario's mind, it doesn't matter if Ward points to the spot. Plus, there's a little psychological warfare, because if you're on the opposing defense, are you wondering, like, is he trying to fake us out? Are they actually going to, play action and throw it to the corner of the end zone? Or are they really going to run up the gut? It's like, it's hard to really know for sure.
Well, so far, I've seen him do it twice, because I saw 2, and both times he was right, and both times they didn't stop it. So, I just hope they don't do that in the playoffs or something like that.
Yeah.
But still, he's just taunting these other teams, and this stuff about this stuff. They're all doing it. And I see, they were doing all this other stuff with going like this and whatever in the end zone. Yeah. They are taunting. They really are. There's things that I remember from the hurricane rules that they banned in the 80s or early 90s with bowing and going like this. And they're still doing some of that stuff. Not this. They're not doing that because that's a penalty.
Slash. Yeah.
They're not doing that anymore. But still, I see whatever. It's just fun to watch. Aren't they fun to watch?
Oh yeah. Well, and the whole thing about pointing to where the play is going to go, he does that in practice as well. I think it was Ahmad Moten who like revealed that a few weeks ago. That yeah, it's like it's really frustrating going up against Cam Ward in practice because he'll tell you exactly where the play is going. And then the other one was, and I think we talked about this Sunday in our recap on that one play. I think it was the first drive when Ward got shoved out of bounds. He provoked that defender because he was like taunting the guy as he was running out of
Yeah,
bounds,
he
and it
was
made the
pointing
kid
at him.
mad.
He pointed
Yeah,
at him. Yeah, he
I
pointed
love
at
that
him.
stuff.
I don't know what that meant. Did it mean,
Yeah,
hey, I'm going out of bounds, leave me alone, or whatever? But the guy
I
had
think
a
he might have
penalty.
just been saying like, "Hey, why can't you catch me? Like, what's going on here?" And then the kid got mad and he shoved him out of bounds. It was great.
Okay, good. And he got 15 yards out of it.
Yeah,
So that
exactly.
works for me. Um, the passing game. I just hope one of these days those little side passes he throws doesn't get picked off because that they look awfully close, but
He's accurate. Yeah.
his reads, and he looks down the field and he looks people off. Like I saw him, he looks right and he throws the bomb to Isaiah Horton.
Yeah.
He's got every move in the book, this kid. He's so good. And the one play I'm upset about, he overthrew Restrepo on the right sideline on one of the plays, but
Yeah.
and he missed 10 passes, but a couple of drops. Jacoby George on that slant that he was right in his hands, and he got picked off. But
Yeah.
he's hurting. I could see that Jacoby's hurting. You could see he limps a
He
lot
was
now.
limping. Yeah.
He's limping. So, but Isaiah Horton, you talk about unsung. Wow, has he turned it up? What is he? He's a redshirt sophomore.
Yeah,
He's
he's a
got 2
redshirt
more years to
sophomore.
go. Wow,
2 more. Yeah.
he's really good. And Sam Brown, I think, shut a lot of people up.
Yeah. Yeah, and
And
that was a great read that Ward made and a perfectly accurate throw on that
Mhm.
76-yard bomb because like Ward saw that the corner either he either like made a mistake or he stumbled or something. Shannon Dawson talked about that, but Ward picked that up like with his spidey senses. He picked that
yeah,
up
and
instantaneously.
he also looked the safety off like to a play down the middle, and then he threw it
Yeah,
over the corner's head, and the safety was too late getting there.
right.
That's more than just being able to throw a football. He's a quarterback. He really is something special. I hope everybody goes to the game on Friday. I really do.
Yeah.
I just want to say that Sunday on the show, I went off on this guy, and I'm not saying I'm sorry, but I had a lot of people make comments, forget about him and whatever. I appreciate the support. I really do. I
Yeah.
really didn't like what I did, but I can't help it sometimes. I just can't.
That guy was taunting you in the chat.
Yeah, well, Mark said
He was like Cam Ward. The guy provoked you.
yeah, he provoked me. But you know what? I don't mind because at the end he started to say something like, "Well, I really didn't mean it. I wasn't really talking about you." Yes, you were. Yes, you
Oh,
are. But
man,
again,
well,
I appreciate all the support and the comments I get, because I like doing this show with you.
all right, folks. Well, we'll edit. We love doing the show with you. If we can nitpick what Miami needs to improve in order to get a victory against Virginia Tech this coming weekend. Also got some questions from you guys on the Locked On Canes Insiders as well. You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on a Truth Teller Tuesday on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. Folks, I'm certainly not done yet when it comes to 5-Hour Energy. Grab a 5-Hour Energy shot to stay alert to watch all of your favorite games. By the way, they announced Miami versus Cal is going to be at 10:30 p.m. I'm going to be drinking 5-Hour Energies all day. If you stayed up late to see a big game last night, take a 5-Hour Energy shot in the morning so that you can start your day. Folks, with zero sugar and a convenient portable size, 5-Hour Energy is the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5-Hour Energy website has flavors galore, like watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and more. There's a flavor for everyone. On the site, you have the option to build your own 12 or 24-pack. You choose the flavors, and it's delivered right to your door. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, get some 5-Hour Energy product today. You can use my promo code Locked On CFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid till September 30th on one order, cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. Thank you for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today on a Truth Teller Tuesday. So, Bruce, obviously we can complain about the referees from this past weekend. They made it about them. 11 penalties called on both sides. Some of those were BS. Some of those weren't BS, though.
Right.
Do you worry about the team discipline where for 3 weeks Miami had 8 penalties, 11 penalties? And is there anything else you would like to see them clean up heading into this conference game?
Well, I'm not upset that much about the penalties. It hasn't really cost us. In other words, we're at the 3, and then we have a 15-yard penalty. We're back to the 18-yard line or something like that. Or the other teams, they don't convert on the 3rd and whatever, and then we get called for a penalty. And now they're 1st and goal in the 6 or something like that. That hasn't really hurt us yet. But they're playing aggressively. I'd rather have them play aggressively than not be anywhere near the receiver every time, which has been in the past. But I only worry about the psychology of the team. Is there a point in time where they're just going to read we're unstoppable and nobody can beat us and you lay an egg? I don't know. That happened last year at this very same time going into the Georgia Tech at home game. And not only did we lay an egg, but the coach laid an egg. We know about that. I'm not worried. I think this is a different team, a different mindset. The culture is where it's supposed to be. So am I worried? Absolutely not. I only worry that they're mentally into the game, that they're not looking past anybody. I mean, why would they look past these guys to play Cal? It's a road trip.
Yeah.
But I know and the head of this snake is Ward. And on Sunday morning, when he was back here, he was in the film room looking at Virginia Tech's defense. So am I worried? No, because he sets the trend for everybody. I'm not worried in the least.
You're 100% right. And Mario always says it, like, this group, they stay angry, and as far as like drinking their own Kool-Aid, I don't think they're doing that because they always remind themselves that, the national media is really high on us right now. I don't even know how much they pay attention to that, but the same media will turn on them in a second, Bruce. Like if they lose to Virginia Tech, the same national media that's like, hey, Miami might be back. And we don't say that, by the way, but the whole Miami might be back narrative, the same media is going to say, oh, these guys were frauds.
Well, forget the media. What about our fans? Can you imagine if they lose and then the show next week will just be loaded with angry people, including me?
Yeah,
but
right. You being the angriest, probably.
But Mario talked the other day, and he talked after the game. You know what he said? We're 1-0. Every week it's 1 and we're 0-0, and it's the first game of the season, and that's what he's been instilling in their heads. We're 1-0, and this week we have to win. We got to be 1-0. So he's not looking ahead. He doesn't even discuss future games at all. You're there a lot of times at those press conferences. He doesn't want to talk about any of that stuff.
No, he doesn't take bait.
Yeah, I listen. Those Bain and Rivers are going to play Friday night. I think we're going to be just fine. I don't see them unless it's pours and it's a storm and it's a sloppy game. I don't see them coming within 17 points of us. Not with a quarterback who's not throwing that well. I don't see how they could score 20 points.
Speaking
I don't
of
see
Mario. Yeah, speaking of Mario, today is Mario Cristobal's birthday.
Yeah, I know. I already wished him in the Miami Hurricane group thing. All the former players are wishing him a happy birthday.
That's awesome.
They said, "Happy birthday, Coach." I said, "Happy birthday, Mario." That's how I know him. I don't call him Coach.
Yeah.
Mario.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if like Cristobal woke up this morning and like his wife had to remind, hey, today's your birthday. It is and I guarantee you, Mario Cristobal is spending his birthday doing the same thing he would be doing. He's coaching today. They got practice. He's studying film. He's probably calling and texting recruits. He's got the loafers on today. He is spending his birthday the same way he would spend any other day, but that will not stop Bruce and I, and hopefully all of you guys, wishing Coach Cristobal a very happiest of birthdays.
I wouldn't be surprised if they put a cake in his face, because that would lighten everybody up. That would really be cool. He would probably laugh. Not that he wants them to throw a pie in his face or a cake. Well, yeah, pie, but still, I think that would break up a lot of people because as they keep winning, it gets a little more tense. And the scrutiny, especially the scrutiny, I don't know how much further we can go down the list. The top 6 teams are pretty darn good. By the way,
Yeah.
Louisville plays Notre Dame at Notre Dame this weekend. We'll find out a lot
Yeah.
about Louisville. I don't care about Notre Dame, but we'll find out a lot about
That's a great
Louisville.
point.
You
That
know,
is a great point. But by the way, somebody in the Locked On Canes Insiders chat asks us if this is going to be the blackout game, if Miami's going to wear the all black. I don't think that they've confirmed that's the expectation, because we don't know outside of the Cal game, which is a road game, so it's different. I don't know of like any other definite night games. All the rest of the games to this point are TBA game time. So we've known obviously all year this was going to be a primetime game on Friday night.
right?
I don't think Miami has confirmed it yet, but this could be the black jersey game. I'm a little, I'm a little worried, Bruce, because the last time they busted out all black was the Georgia Tech game last year.
Yeah.
I might just go orange on white this week.
Yeah, and Mario might change it to orange on white because that's probably what he really wants. He doesn't like this stuff.
Yeah.
But I think Virginia Tech is a team that was supposed to be really good. Now let's just hope they don't break out this week. But I'm not that concerned about that anymore. It's just got to go in every week and just, as they used to say, kick, and take names and go home. That's what they should be doing.
Well, we'll talk more about the Hokies throughout the week. It was definitely a team that I rated highly, perhaps overrated before the season. The two that I probably overrated were Virginia Tech and NC State. NC State is in a really, really bad way right now.
Yeah, they're bad.
They are really bad. Well, thankfully, Miami is not bad. They look the opposite of that so far. He is Bruce Warner, the truth teller. Awesome work as always. And we'll try. We were supposed to be catching up with our pal Mark Caesar today. Hopefully, we'll be able to get him on next week.
You don't want to miss next week's show if Mark gets his phone fixed, because we were talking to him, the three of us. I was talking to Mark and I called Alex. We dialed it up and Mark was saying stuff. He's a riot, man. He's got stories and all kinds of stuff. He talks about SAP and this and that. He still swears we're going to get SAP on the phone. And then he said, I told him to call Luke. I'm friendly with Uncle Luke. I want to get Luke on here. So in a couple of weeks, we're going down to the Edison game, him and I, and we're going to try to get Luke for that following show. So anyway, stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We'll talk to you guys next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. We're part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.